Alright, let's kick this baby off. Good evening, everybody. This is Ismortah, and this evening is my ELEMANCERS stream, updating you on the latest what's going on, what to expect, and where the project is going to drive towards a Q4 2019 Kickstarter launch. So what am I going to be discussing with you guys this evening? I'm going to give an overview of what ELEMANCERS is, what the game's all about, and what I am designing and improving upon the alpha build to have for the game. Share some updates with the Day 9 30-day project, which is concluding a couple days from now, this Friday, if I recall. And also end with some Pretties. So before I continue further, let me just check the audio. Make sure you guys are hearing me loud and clear. So let me just check that 1 second. I believe it's good enough. Let's get a little bit closer. Alrighty, so what is ELEMANCERS? So I have the screen up here, a synopsis that I had a few years ago on the game. I've updated a few text, and this will be further updated as I develop and share the beta rules in June before RageCon end of that month. So definitely expect on, and this is the one of the pages on the website for Shadow Balance games. As far as not only what the game's all about from a high level perspective, but also game mechanically and story wise to actually go into more detail, as well as have a rules overview PDF that you can view at that time also. So expect those, in particular having more of that meat added to this in June when I get to that step. As you know, I've communicated previously on the ELEMANCERS stream, is for this sprint, it's really diving into the remaining things that I need to do for the UI. As far as flavor text, look of the actual text, the game text, the borders, the backgrounds, to finalize the direction I want to go on those elements, and how I want to execute it, and then do it. Alright, so what is ELEMANCERS? ELEMANCERS is a 2 to 6 player, team-based fantasy strategy board game that pits the light faction against the dark faction. So what do I mean by that? So in this game, what I really liked from games that, and really like, let me back up a little bit, really what ELEMANCERS is, it's a hybrid of my favorite types of things that I've played in games or want to see in games, and like, what is the type of game that I want to play, with the idea that if it's a game that I'm really excited about, there's probably others excited the same way that I am. But at the same time, I want it to be friendly so people can figure out how to play the game, get excited about it, and have any number of different types of players can jump in and have an enjoyable experience. So this game is largely a team-based game, but it's pitting two teams against each other. And each team, which is a faction, has 1 to 3 players who play as different clans. And these clans champion different magical elements in the game that make up the 2 different primal elements, either of light or of darkness, representing the 2 different factions. And you can see here the different elements you can command, and a little synopsis on the backstory of the game, which is there were these primal gods that used to exist in the world that had this epic clash, and they both were either destroyed or banished in this place that was after that battle called the Hollow of Fate. That just this enormous crater in the ground with this cosmic energy and this impenetrable, looks like, energy shield from the conflict. But from that conflict spawned all of these different magical elements appearing in the world, forging the world, as well as the creatures that inhabit it. And that's what you'll see and experience in the game. And so this game does incorporate a lot of different, like I said, my favorite things that I want to see, that I enjoy in the game, which is area control, dice and card gameplay, in particular battle interacting with another player mechanics, one of largely creature combat, and also has a resource management system for you managing your own abilities they can do for your clan, as well as secret objectives, but it's secret to the enemy you could share with amongst your team. After all, it is a team-based game. Legendary weapons, which are weapons that you unlock after completing a set of lore cards, and to earn a lore card, you get that from completing a saga card, which is that secret objective. An ancient lore, and I'll go more into that a little later. And what I'm shooting for is approximately 3.5 hours to play. The reason why I say that is if you know how to play and the game's set up, you can play the game in 3 hours is what I'm shooting for. Now, if you're a new player, or just having a good time, and or including setup time and teaching new players how to play the game, then the game could go 4 hours. But this is one of the things that I'm massaging because I really want to get to that sweet spot, which is really the same duration that you see like if someone's playing a D&D campaign, or like what you see on Critical Role, is the sweet spot 3 to 4 hours. So that's one of the things that I am testing. And here what you see below is a box cover that I had for like 4 years ago. Definitely the UI and the logo is going to change, as well as the tint that you see on the background. But the dragon, most likely, whose name is Bronzu, will be really the face of the expansion, which will also be available during the campaign for the Order of Fate. Because that's story-wise where that's being introduced. Whereas the core story, as you can see above, it's really the war that's going on between the light and dark factions after the epic battle that happened between the primal gods, and then the aftermath and what the clans are doing following that event, cataclysmic event. So what's currently going on with my game project? So like I said prior, for this initial push at the beginning of the beta phase, I've been following along with and created a 30-day project with the day nights, as you can see above here, for a 30-day project, to really just have that initial push to motivation and planning, to just doing a little bit of something every day when I don't have all day right now to devote to the game project, and what's the biggest bang for my buck that I could just get something done. With this push, not really focusing on hitting particular deliverables, but what is the biggest things to work on, and just flesh that out and do something every week. If you do something every week, you're going to make that progress, important progress. But if you don't do anything, then it'll never get done. Or if you're not taking care of like the highest level of planning, then what you're working on may just be seen through the trees instead of looking at the entire forest on, oh, this is the big thing that need to happen, or I need to work on this piece before the next piece. So my priority last week and going through the rest of this week for the final push for the 30-day project is the week 4 goal and the update that you see for 5.1 and 4.27. The bigness things that I want to figure out how I want to do it is the direction for the UI, which still needs to be added to the game to ensure that this is what I want to do and why I want to do it that way, as well as determining what is the story that I want to tell, not just in the rule book and the lore cards, but also in the saga and maybe even the battle cards, as far as what people learn and how they experience that story. One of the things I've also been working on, which I'm almost there, is to determine how long it takes to do battles as well as rounds in the game. I want to shorten them and also get them so there's very little deviation, so they always take about the same amount of time. That way I can really harden that 3 to 4 hour game length that I'm shooting for. Let's see. The particulars that I want to go through one was battle and round length testing. Like I said, I'm just hardening. I just want to make sure that those lengths are on average done for any sort of groups of players that play the game. Story brainstorming, as I had said. Another thing that I'm working on is entertaining the addition of a solo mode. Now, why would I do that, and how would I do that? The reason why I'm entertaining the addition of a solo mode is because it wouldn't be that much of a production lift other than some more pages or additional rulebook, and it would add more value to the game. It's definitely not a way you have to play, but the fact that someone could get the game because they thought it was really interesting or really loved miniatures, and if they can't get a group, could have an enjoyable experience playing the game solo and even practice certain mechanics to do a competitive play with ELEMANCERS team against team. Another reason why I'm entertaining looking at solo mode is because it's also a vehicle that I can create automation in the game. And what I mean by that is, if I could design a way that a solo player can play against an artificial opponent, then that means that's also another way that I can actually do the team-based game. That we could also create a situation that all of your friends, if it's 3 or less players, can play on the same team and just fight the game itself. So, for example, if you have 3 or less players and you all were really excited about playing as the light faction, then you want it to be the good guys, not the bad guys per se. Well, then, you don't want to play the game and say, nope, you have to be the baddie. You all want to be not only on the same team, but maybe also just being part of that same theme of being the light side, for example. And this would be a way that you guys could still do that. The fact that you could just play a automaton opponent that with a combination of scripted if statements to determine the best reactions that they would take, as well as random decisions that we can have the artificial opponent make, that will lead to still gameplay that's not predictable and at the same time challenging, and you can have that experience with a small group or solo. So that's why I thought it was really interesting, because you would capture a player base that maybe even having 2 teams work against each other capture. So, and that's why I'm taking a look at to see if it's feasible and how I would do that. Another thing I'm looking at, like I said, is the final direction that I want to go for the UI design. I know high level what I want to do, but it's more like how I want to do it and why I want to do it that way. What type of things do I want people to experience with the UI and how? Definitely one of the things that I'm moving towards is have it be simplistic, because I want the emphasis to be on the gameplay or the flavor text or the art. So if you have a bunch of other stuff in the background, it's going to be very busy. Whereas maybe the backs to the cards would have an intricate design, for example. So those are the major beats that I've been working on last week, as well as this week and this weekend, and just get down as most as I can, or in particular to know the direction of where I want to go. That way I can execute that work this month. So I don't want the stream to go too long. It's just a stream of updates. So that's really the core stuff that I am working on. For my next stream of ELEMANCERS, what I want to do is, as a treat, have it not be updates, because I've sort of told you like exactly what I'm working on. It'll just be executing that. But to show you for my alpha build, to actually have a video, they actually see enclosed the types of cards and rules and elements to the game that actually had, so you can get a closer look on what the game looks like and how it feels. Now, the next stream this week will be Friday, 7 p.m. PST, during my video game stream. And for that, I'm thinking about jumping back into Sea of Thieves. I haven't been in a while, and I know there's been a huge updates that are supposed to happen for that game, either end of April or beginning of May, which is exactly where we're at. So I'll most likely jump into that Friday. So if you want to check that out, join me Friday night. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll leave you with this treat, which is one of the citadels in ELEMANCERS. This is the Dark Faction Citadel, and it has a rendered, looks like dirty paint job done to it by my sculptor, and man, it just looks freaking awesome. This just shows you that, you know, even though the shape of this miniature is amazing, the fact that when you do particular paint jobs, you just bring so much more life to it. It's just so amazing. So enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Again, ELEMANCERS update next week is going to be 7 p.m. PST Wednesday night. Thanks for watching again, guys. And this is Ismortah. I'll catch you next time.